In lesson 13, we're going to learn how to use the bump switch to toggle the motor. In other words, it's going to become an off and on switch. Let's take a look. So as we press bump switch A, it will turn motor 1 on. When we press bump switch A again, it will turn motor 1 off. Before we get into the coding, let's set up our devices. So we'll click from the device panel and we'll say add a device. We'll choose motor and we'll call it motor 1 and we'll choose done. We'll add one more device and this device will be a push button. It's a 3-wire sensor and there's bumper, so bump switch. This one for me is plugged into port A. Then I'll click done. Now that we're into section 3 of our programming, we're going to learn more about operators. And operators are kind of what you see on the screen, where we have comparison modes, we have where we can assign variables, and where we can also add some arithmetic operators, so like plus, minus, divide. Let's take a look at both codes. We're going to do this section just a little different. So in this section, you can see over to the left, we have our block coding. So the when started and set motor to false. Now set motor to false is actually a variable. We can set those variables in the block coding section. But if we look at the Python, to set a variable, we can actually type it at the beginning. So there's our begin project code, just typical. And our motor running is actually the value of the motor. And we're going to say in this case it equals false. So this variable is going to track whether or not the motor is running. Then we move down below and we get into a loop. And if you look at the block section, this is where our forever loop starts. So there we're going to say if we press bumper A, so we're going to check to see if it's pressed. If not, then we go into our next line of code. If motor is not running, we want to set the motor to run. Okay, so what this is saying is if the motor's not running and we press the button, we're going to make the motor run at 20%. And then it says, we go to the else, and it says if motor is running, we want to stop the motor. And then while bumper A is pressed, we're waiting for the bump switch to be released. So what we really did here is we put sort of a delay on that bump switch, and this gives the brain time to catch up with the bump switch and to make sure everything has been pressed. And then the brain knows, what do I activate here? If the motor's running, then I do this. If the motor is not running, then I make it run.